My name is Edna, and at 62 years old, I thought I knew what family meant. For 35 years, I poured my heart into my craftsman home in Portland, raising my children within those cherished walls. Then last Sunday, my son-in-law Derek dropped a bombshell over dinner. "Your house is perfect for my parents. They move tomorrow," he announced with a smirk that made my blood run cold. What he didn't know was that I had my own welcome prepared. If you're watching this video right now, let me know where you're tuning in from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had to stand your ground when family tried to take advantage of your kindness. Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. After losing my husband Frank to a sudden heart attack 5 years ago, I learned to rebuild my life piece by piece. Our craftsman-style house with its wraparound porch and vibrant garden became my sanctuary. Frank and I had spent decades perfecting every inch of this place, from the hand-restored hardwood floors to the stained glass window in the front door that cast rainbow patterns across the entryway each morning. Teaching elementary school for 30 years had given me purpose, but after retirement, this house became my new project. I tended Frank's roses in the garden, joined a book club that met every Tuesday, and volunteered 3 days a week at our local library. Neighbors would often stop by for coffee on my porch, commenting on how well I'd maintained the property. Frank would be proud, they'd say, which always warmed my heart. My daughter Jessica was 32 when she met Derek. She'd always been my sensitive child, artistic and thoughtful, like her father. After completing her master's in art history, she worked at the Portland Museum of Modern Art, where she met Derek at a fundraiser 3 years ago. He was handsome in that polished way that sometimes sets off alarm bells for mothers. At 40, he was 8 years Jessica's senior and worked as a real estate developer with his own company. Their courtship was a whirlwind. Within 6 months, Derek had proposed with a ring that seemed unnecessarily large. The wedding followed quickly after that, a lavish affair that Derek insisted on paying for entirely. "I want to show Jessica the life she deserves." He told me, though, something in his tone suggested he thought her upbringing had somehow been lacking. From the beginning, I had reservations about Derek. He had a calculating look in his eyes when he thought no one was watching. During their engagement dinner, I noticed how he surveyed my home, not with appreciation for its character, but as though assessing its value. When I mentioned this to Jessica, she laughed it off. "He's in real estate, Mom. He can't help noticing properties." Despite my concerns, I worked hard to welcome Derek into our family. I wanted Jessica to be happy, and she seemed enamored with him and the lifestyle he provided. They bought a sleek modern home across town, and Jessica gradually visited less frequently. Our Sunday dinners became monthly, then special occasions only. Financially, I was comfortable, but not wealthy. Frank had been prudent with our savings, and we'd paid off the mortgage just before his retirement. My teacher's pension, combined with Frank's Social Security and modest investments, allowed me to maintain the house and live without financial worry. The property itself had appreciated significantly over the decades, as our once quiet neighborhood became one of Portland's most desirable areas. When Jessica called to tell me she was pregnant, I felt a surge of joy, unlike anything since Frank's passing. A grandchild would bring new life and purpose. I immediately began converting Frank's old office into a nursery for visits. I painted the walls a gentle yellow, assembled a crib, and filled bookshelves with the children's classics I'd read to Jessica and her brother Michael. Michael had moved to Chicago years ago for work. We spoke weekly by phone, but visits were rare. With Jessica's pregnancy, I hoped she might need her mother more, that we might rebuild the closeness we'd once shared. Instead, Derek seemed to tighten his control. He began answering her phone, making decisions about doctor appointments, even dictating her diet. When I expressed concern to Jessica, she would say, "He just wants what's best for the baby." Looking back, all the warning signs were there. the way Derek would mention how large my house was for just one person. His questions about my retirement finances disguised as concern. His comments about how the neighborhood was becoming premium real estate. I simply failed to connect the dots until it was almost too late. Sunday dinners were a tradition in our family long before Derek entered the picture. Even though Jessica and Derek rarely attended anymore, I continued to prepare a roast with all the trimmings each week, often sharing with neighbors or enjoying leftovers for days. When Jessica called to say they would be coming for dinner that Sunday, I was delighted. She was 5 months pregnant by then, and I hadn't seen her in nearly 3 weeks. I spent all day Saturday preparing her favorite foods: pot roast with root vegetables, homemade rolls, and apple pie with cinnamon ice cream. From the moment they arrived, I sensed something was different. Derek seemed unusually animated, helping Jessica from the car with exaggerated care. He kept exchanging glances with her throughout the appetizers, and she avoided my eyes whenever I asked about the pregnancy. "The ultrasound went well," Derek answered for her. "Doctor says everything is right on track." Jessica picked at her food, while Derek ate heartily, complimenting my cooking with unusual enthusiasm. When I served coffee and pie, Derek cleared his throat and placed his hand over Jessica's. "Edna, we have some news." He began using that smooth voice he reserved for what he considered important announcements. "My parents are having some health issues down in Florida. The heat's becoming too much, and Dad's heart condition needs attention." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said sincerely. "Portland has excellent cardiac care. Will they be moving to a retirement community here?" Derek's smile widened. "Actually, we've found the perfect solution. Your house is exactly what they need. Single-level living established neighborhood, close to medical facilities." I felt a cold sensation spreading through my chest. "My house." "It's far too big for just one person, Edna," Derek continued, as if explaining something to a child. "You must rattle around in here all alone. My parents could use the space, especially with Dad's mobility issues." I looked at Jessica, who was studying her untouched pie with intense focus. "Jessica, it makes sense, Mom," she whispered, still not meeting my eyes. "The timing is perfect," Derek pushed on. "They need to leave Florida immediately because of Dad's appointment with a specialist here. They'll be arriving tomorrow." "Tomorrow," I nearly dropped my coffee cup. "But this is my home. I have no plans to move." Derek waved his hand dismissively. "We've looked into some lovely senior apartments near us. 1-bedroom units with community activities meals provided. Much less upkeep for you." My hands began to shake. "I don't want an apartment. I don't need my meals provided. This is my home, and I'm not going anywhere." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Jessica looked like she might cry, while Derek's expression hardened slightly before he composed himself. "Edna, be reasonable. This house is wasted on you. My parents need it, and frankly, it would be selfish to refuse." "Jessica agrees. Don't you, honey?" Jessica gave a barely perceptible nod, a single tear sliding down her cheek. "I think you both should leave," I said quietly, surprising myself with the steadiness of my voice. "I need some time to think." Derek stood his chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. "There's nothing to think about. They arrive at 10 tomorrow. We'll help with the transition." His tone made it clear this wasn't a request. After they left, Jessica called from the car. Through tears, she explained that Derek's parents had lost most of their retirement savings in a bad investment Derek had recommended. They couldn't afford assisted living, and Derek felt responsible. "He's trying to make it right, Mom. Please understand. By giving away my house without asking me. Does he even have the right to make these decisions? He says it's the only solution. He's under so much stress lately with work and the baby coming." I hung up feeling hollow. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the weight of betrayal heavy on my chest. Not just from Derek, whom I'd never fully trusted, but from Jessica, who had always been my ally. The moonlight filtered through the curtains Frank had hung decades ago, illuminating the room where we had shared our lives, where I had nursed my children through fevers, where I had held Frank's hand during his final days. This house wasn't just walls and a roof. It was the physical embodiment of my history, and someone was trying to take it from me without so much as a proper conversation. By 6 the next morning, after a sleepless night, I called my sister Laura. 4 years my senior, Laura had always been my voice of reason and strongest advocate. She listened without interrupting as I explained the previous evening's events. "That manipulative snake," she said when I finished. "This isn't about his parents' health at all. Has Derek ever shown interest in your property before?" The question triggered a flood of memories I'd previously dismissed. Derek questioning me about property taxes during his first visit. His comments about how houses in my neighborhood were selling for premium prices. The time I came home early from a dental appointment to find him in my home office, hurriedly replacing papers in my file cabinet, claiming he was looking for family photos. He's been asking about my finances since he and Jessica started dating. I admitted. I thought he was just making conversation. "Edna, you need to call your lawyer immediately, and don't leave the house today. If Derek has keys, change your locks." After hanging up with Laura, I made myself a strong cup of coffee and walked around my home with new awareness. Each room held memories that Derek was trying to erase with his parents as unwitting pawns. The living room, where Jessica took her first steps. The kitchen, where I taught Michael to bake his father's favorite cookies. The garden bench, where Frank proposed to me 40 years ago. I called my neighbor Howard, who had lived next door for 20 years. "Howard, has Derek ever spoken to you about my house or the neighborhood?" Howard hesitated before answering. "I didn't want to worry you, Edna, but yes. About 3 months ago, I overheard him on his phone in your backyard. He was talking about development potential on the block and mentioned your lot specifically. Said something about the old lady won't be there much longer. I assumed he meant you might be moving to be closer to Jessica." My stomach twisted. I thanked Howard and hung up, then immediately opened my laptop. A quick search of property records showed that Derek's development company had purchased 2 other homes on my street in the past year. Both were currently being renovated, their historic character stripped away for modern interiors that would fetch higher prices. This wasn't about his parents needing a place to live. This was about Derek wanting control of my property for development purposes. Jessica was either complicit or more likely another one of his victims. I searched for Derek's parents online and found Walter and Marge Barnes in Tampa, Florida. Walter had retired as an engineer 10 years ago, and Marge had been an elementary school teacher like myself. They appeared to be ordinary people, probably unaware of their son's true intentions for my home. Next, I called my son Michael in Chicago. Unlike his sister Michael, had always been skeptical of Derek finding him too polished and always working an angle. When I explained the situation, Michael was furious. "I'm booking a flight right now, Mom. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. This is elder abuse." "I'm not elderly, Michael," I protested, though his concern warmed my heart. "It's financial exploitation of a family member then. Either way, it's wrong and possibly illegal. I'll be there tomorrow, but in the meantime, call Amanda." Amanda Wilson had been our family lawyer since Frank's days. Now in her 60s herself, she handled my will and had helped settle Frank's estate. I called her office and explained the situation. "Don't confront Derek directly," she advised. "That may escalate the situation. Instead, let's establish clear boundaries legally. I'll prepare a formal document stating that any occupants of your home are temporary guests with no tenancy rights. I can have it ready within the hour." By midday, I had a plan. I wouldn't fight Derek with anger or accusations. Instead, I would use the law and my rights as a homeowner to maintain control. If Derek's parents truly needed a place to stay, they could be guests in my home temporarily, but on my terms. And if Derek thought he could bully me into giving up my property for his development plans, he was about to learn that this old lady still had plenty of fight left in her. With Derek's parents scheduled to arrive at 10 the next morning, I had less than 24 hours to prepare. My first stop after talking with Amanda was the bank where I met with my financial advisor, Thomas. "I want to ensure my accounts are secure," I explained. "No one should have access except me." Thomas reviewed my accounts, confirming that all were in my name only. "What about your house deed?" he asked. "It's in my name alone since Frank passed, but I want to verify nothing has changed." A quick check of county records confirmed the house remained solely in my name, but Thomas suggested an additional protection. "Let's put a fraud alert on your credit and property records. If anyone attempts to take out a loan using your home as collateral or transfer the deed, you'll be notified immediately." My next stop was a locksmith. Rick had helped me after Frank died when I wanted deadbolts installed for extra security. "I need all exterior locks changed today," I told him, "and I'd like keys that can't be copied without my permission." By 3 that afternoon, my house had new secure locks on every door. I kept one key for myself and had 2 others made, one for emergencies that I left with Howard next door, and another for Michael when he arrived. Back home, I began reorganizing. The master bedroom would remain mine, non-negotiable. I cleared the guest room for Walter and Marge, making it comfortable but not extravagant. I removed personal items from the main living areas and secured important documents and valuables in a new safe installed in my closet. I printed Amanda's legal document, which clearly stated that any occupants other than myself were considered temporary guests with no rights to claim residence. It specified that guests must abide by house rules established by the owner and could be asked to leave with reasonable notice. Next, I created a house guidelines document that outlined bathroom schedules, kitchen use quiet hours, and other practical considerations for shared living. I made it clear that common areas were shared spaces, but that my bedroom office and garden shed were private and not to be entered without explicit permission. I called 3 of my closest neighbors, Howard next door, Beatrice across the street, and the Johnsons on the corner. I explained the situation briefly and asked them to keep an eye out for unusual activity around my house, particularly any visits from contractors or real estate agents when I wasn't home. "We've got your back, Edna," Beatrice assured me. "No one's pushing you out of this neighborhood." By evening, I was physically exhausted, but mentally prepared. I sat in Frank's old armchair in the living room, touching the worn leather armrest where his hand had rested thousands of times. "What would you do, Frank?" I whispered to his photo on the side table. In the image, he was standing in our garden, pruning roses, with that focused expression he got when working with his hands. I could almost hear his response, "Stand your ground, Eddie. This is our home." I thought about Jessica, wondering if she understood what Derek was really planning. Had she become so entwined in his manipulations that she couldn't see clearly anymore? Or was she an unwilling participant pressured into compliance? Either way, I needed to protect not just my home, but potentially my daughter and future grandchild as well. Before going to bed, I placed Frank's photo on my nightstand, instead of its usual spot in the living room. Whatever happened tomorrow, I wanted him close by. I may have been alone in body, but in spirit, I had my husband's strength, my sister's wisdom, my son's support, and my own determination. Derek might have thought me an easy target, a lonely widow he could pressure and manipulate. He was about to discover how wrong he was. At precisely 10 the next morning, a silver SUV pulled into my driveway. From my living room window, I watched Derek emerge from the driver's seat, straightening his expensive suit, before helping an older woman from the passenger side. A silver-haired man slowly exited from the back, leaning heavily on a cane. Jessica wasn't with them. I took a deep breath and opened the front door, before they reached it. "Good morning," I said pleasantly. "You must be Walter and Marge." Derek stepped forward, that familiar smirk playing on his lips. "Edna's so glad you've come around. Let me introduce my parents." Walter Barnes was tall and thin, with kind eyes that reminded me somewhat of Frank. He extended his free hand. "Miss Thompson, thank you for your hospitality. I hope we're not imposing too much." Before I could respond, Derek jumped in. "Not at all, Dad. Edna and I discussed everything. She's happy to have you here while she transitions to a more suitable living arrangement." Marge, a plump woman with carefully styled grey hair, looked uncomfortable. "Derek told us this was your idea, that you were looking to downsize." "Did he now?" I said, maintaining my smile. "Why don't you all come inside? We have some details to discuss." Derek immediately took charge, carrying his parents' suitcases into the foyer. "Let me show you around your new home. The master bedroom is through here with its own bathroom, perfect for Dad's mobility issues." I followed as he led his parents through my house, like a realtor giving a tour. The kitchen was updated 5 years ago. Great appliances, plenty of cabinet space. The backyard is low maintenance, but has a lovely patio for morning coffee. When he reached the master bedroom door, I stepped in front of him. "This room isn't available. It's mine." Derek's confident smile faltered. "Edna, we discussed this. You'll be moving to that senior apartment. My parents need the accessible bathroom in the master." "I never agreed to move anywhere, Derek. Your parents are welcome to stay in the guest room temporarily while they find suitable housing, but this remains my home." Derek's face flushed red. "Now listen here." "No, you listen," I interrupted, keeping my voice calm but firm. "I've prepared the guest room for your parents. It's comfortable and has a bathroom across the hall. If that doesn't work for them, I understand, but those are the accommodations available." Walter looked mortified. "Derek, you told us Ms. Thompson was moving in with Jessica to help with the baby. You said she'd offered her house to us." "That was the plan," Derek snapped. "Edna's just being difficult. She'll come around." I turned to Walter and Marge. "I'm sorry you've been misled. You're welcome to stay as guests while you look for permanent housing, but I have no intention of leaving my home." Derek grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the kitchen. "Excuse us for a moment," he said to his parents with a strained smile. Once we were alone, his pleasant facade disappeared. "What do you think you're doing? My parents sold their house in Florida. They need to live here." "That's unfortunate, but it doesn't entitle them to my home. You should have consulted me before making promises you couldn't keep." "Jessica already agreed this was the best solution." "Jessica doesn't own this house, I do." Derek's eyes narrowed. "Be reasonable, Edna. This neighborhood is wasted on you. Do you know what this property is worth now? My company could develop it into 3 modern townhomes. I was trying to be nice by offering you the senior apartment." There it was, the truth finally exposed. "I'm not interested in your development plans or your senior apartment. Now you can tell your parents the truth, or I will." Derek's face contorted with anger. "You ungrateful old woman. Jessica will never forgive you for this. When the baby comes, you'll never see your grandchild." The threat hit me like a physical blow, but I refused to show it. "That's between Jessica and me. You need to leave now. Your parents can stay until they find other arrangements, but you're not welcome in my home." "This isn't over," he hissed, before storming back to the living room. "Mom, Dad, let's go. Edna has changed her mind. She doesn't want to help us after all." Marge looked confused. "But our flight back isn't for 2 weeks, and we've sold the house." "You can stay at our place," Derek insisted, though the grimace on his face made it clear this wasn't his preference. As they gathered their belongings, Jessica arrived rushing through the front door, looking distressed. "What's happening, Derek? You said everything was arranged." "Your mother decided she doesn't care about family," Derek said coldly. "She's throwing my parents out on the street." "That's not true," I interjected. Walter and Marge are welcome to stay as guests while they find a place. It's Derek who's insisting they leave because I won't give up my home. Jessica looked between us, confusion written across her face. Derek, you said Mom had agreed to move to Sunset Apartments. You said she was excited about being closer to us for the baby. She changed her mind, Derek snapped. Let's go, all of us. He grabbed Jessica's arm roughly, but she pulled away. No, I need to talk to my mother. Fine. Stay with her, see if I care. Derek stormed out, leaving Jessica, Walter, Marge and me standing in awkward silence in my living room. Later that evening, after Jessica had left to think things through, and Walter and Marge had settled uncomfortably into my guest room, I overheard Derek on the phone in the driveway. He'd returned to pick up his parents, but was taking a call before coming inside. They'll wear her down, he said to someone. The old lady can't hold out forever. Once my parents are established as residents, it'll be easier to pressure her to sell. Just stall the other property closings. This whole block is going to be worth a fortune once we get the zoning changed. I quietly closed the window, my suspicions fully confirmed. This wasn't about his parents needing a place to live. It was about Derek wanting control of my property, and potentially the entire neighborhood for development. The next morning brought an uncomfortable silence to the house. Walter and Marge emerged from the guest room, looking tired and embarrassed. I had prepared coffee and a simple breakfast of toast and fruit. Ms. Thompson, Walter began. We're so sorry about all this. We had no idea. Please call me Edna, and you have nothing to apologize for. Would you like some coffee? As we sat at my kitchen table, a scene remarkably different from what Derek had planned. Marge began to cry softly. We thought this was your idea. Derek told us you wanted to move in with Jessica to help with the baby and that you'd offered your house because of Walter's heart condition. He said you were struggling to maintain the place and would be relieved to have us take it over, Walter added, shaking his head. We should have known better. Derek has always had a way of reshaping reality to suit his needs. What do you mean? I asked gently. Walter and Marge exchanged glances. Our son has always been ambitious, Walter said carefully. When he was young, it manifested as determination, which we encouraged. But as he got older, we noticed he didn't always consider how his actions affected others. The investment that cost us our retirement savings, Marge continued. Derek convinced us it was guaranteed, said he had insider information. When it collapsed, he blamed the market, then the advisors, then us for not understanding the risks, never himself. We were surprised when he offered to help us move to Portland, Walter admitted. Our relationship has been strained for years. Now I see it wasn't about helping us at all. I felt a strange mix of anger and sympathy. Derek had manipulated everyone, his wife, his parents, and me. Before I could respond, there was a loud knock at the door. Derek burst in without waiting for an answer, Jessica trailing behind him, looking pale and tired. Pack your things, he commanded his parents. We're leaving this ungrateful woman to her empty house. Derek, stop it, Jessica said quietly. This isn't right. He whirled to face her. Whose side are you on? Your mother clearly doesn't care about your future or our child's. That's not fair, Jessica protested, her voice stronger. Mom offered to let your parents stay while they find a place. You're the one who insisted it had to be all or nothing. Derek's face reddened. I did what was best for everyone. My parents need a place, your mother doesn't need all this space, and the property could secure our future if developed properly. Developed, Jessica repeated. You never mentioned developing Mom's house. You said this was about your parents' health. It's about being practical, Derek snapped. This neighborhood is changing. These old houses are sitting on gold mines. Your mother could cash out now and live comfortably, but she's too stubborn and sentimental. Jessica turned to me, her eyes wide. Is that true? Mum, did Derek talk about developing your house? I overheard him on the phone last night, I confirmed. Apparently the plan was to establish his parents here, pressure me to leave, then develop the property as part of a larger project on this block. Jessica's face crumpled. You lied to me. To all of us. I made a business decision, Derek defended. One that would benefit the family. By taking my mother's home under false pretenses. She doesn't need it. She's one person in a 3-bedroom house in a prime location. That's not your decision to make, Jessica said firmly. This is her home. She raised us here. Dad died here. Derek's expression hardened. I see how it is. Your mother has turned you against me. No, Derek, you did that all on your own. Jessica moved to stand beside me. I want you to leave now. Fine. But remember this moment when we're struggling to afford a bigger place for the baby. Remember this when your mother is too old to maintain this house and you have to deal with it. He turned to his parents. Are you coming or staying with these ungrateful women? Walter stood slowly, leaning on his cane. We'll find a hotel today, but we won't be going with you, son. Derek looked genuinely shocked for the first time since I'd met him. What are you talking about? We've enabled your behavior for too long, Marge said sadly. Pretending your manipulations were just ambition, your lies just exaggerations. Not anymore. For a moment, Derek seemed at a loss for words. Then his expression hardened. You'll all regret this. Jessica, this is your last chance. Come home with me now, or don't come home at all. Jessica took a deep breath. Then I guess I won't be coming home. The door slammed behind Derek with enough force to rattle the stained glass window Frank had installed decades ago. In the silence that followed, Jessica burst into tears while Walter and Marge stood awkwardly by the kitchen door. I'm so sorry, Mom, Jessica sobbed. He convinced me it was the best solution for everyone. Said you'd agreed in principle and just needed a gentle push. I wrapped my arms around my daughter, feeling her pregnant belly press against me. It's all right. You're here now. That's what matters. Walter cleared his throat. We'll get out of your hair. Find a hotel until we can figure out our next steps. Nonsense, I said firmly. You're welcome to stay as guests while you look for a place. This isn't your fault. That evening, the 4 of us shared a simple dinner at my kitchen table. Jessica called a locksmith to change the locks on the house she shared with Derek, then arranged for a friend to collect some of her belongings while he was at work. Walter and Marge called a real estate agent to begin looking for an affordable condo or apartment in Portland. We were an unlikely group brought together by one man's deception. But as we talked late into the night, I felt something unexpected, the beginning of healing, and perhaps even new bonds forming from the broken pieces Derek had left behind. The weeks that followed were challenging, but ultimately transformative for all of us. Derek, true to his threats, attempted to claim an ownership interest in my house through legal channels, arguing that Jessica's marital assets included potential inheritance. Amanda quickly shut down that approach. Your son-in-law has no claim whatsoever, she assured me after the first legal correspondence. He's fishing for leverage, but he has nothing to stand on. Jessica moved into her old bedroom temporarily while processing what had happened. Through tears one evening, she revealed more of Derek's manipulations. He's been lying about our finances for months, she admitted. I found statements showing massive debt I didn't know about. He's been using my credit to fund his real estate ventures, and he's been intercepting your calls and messages to me, telling me you were too busy to talk when I wanted to visit. Michael arrived from Chicago and stayed for 2 weeks helping Jessica file for divorce and financial separation. His presence was a tremendous support for all of us, especially when Derek attempted to contact Jessica with alternating threats and apologies. Classic abuser pattern, Michael observed. He isolated you from family, controlled the finances, and made you doubt your own perceptions. It's textbook. Walter and Marge found a modest ground-floor apartment in a retirement community just 15 minutes away. I helped them furnish it with pieces from my own home that I no longer needed, including a comfortable recliner that had been gathering dust in the basement. "We can't thank you enough," Marge told me as we arranged flowers on her new kitchen table. "Not just for the furniture, but for your forgiveness. We're so ashamed of Derek's behavior." "You're not responsible for his actions," I assured her. "Besides, I've gained wonderful new friends out of this ordeal." Jessica's pregnancy progressed, and with it, her confidence returned. She filed for divorce, secured a protective order when Derek's behavior became concerning, and discovered strength she didn't know she possessed. The museum offered her flexible hours, allowing her to work from home part-time as her due date approached. 3 months after the confrontation, Jessica gave birth to Emma Grace, a beautiful baby girl, with her mother's artistic temperament and her grandmother's determination. Derek attempted to assert parental rights, but missed the court date showing his true priorities. As summer turned to fall, our unconventional family settled into new patterns. Walter and Marge became surrogate grandparents to Emma, often visiting to rock her while Jessica rested. Michael called weekly planning his next visit. My sister Laura became a fierce advocate for Jessica during the divorce proceedings. One crisp October evening, we gathered in my garden. Jessica sat in an Adirondack chair, nursing Emma Walter, and Marge brought homemade apple pie, and I poured tea from Frank's favorite pot. The roses were in their final bloom of the season, their scent mingling with the earthy aroma of fallen leaves. "I never imagined we'd end up here," Jessica said, gazing at Emma's peaceful face. "But I'm so grateful we did." Looking around at these people who had become family through the most unexpected circumstances, I felt profound gratitude. Derek had intended to take everything from me: my home, my independence, my relationship with my daughter. Instead, his schemes had ultimately given me more than I could have imagined: a stronger bond with Jessica, a beautiful granddaughter, and new friends in Walter and Marge. My house remained my sanctuary, but now it was filled with new memories alongside the old. Emma's first bath in the kitchen sink. Walter teaching Jessica how to repair the leaky faucet Frank had always meant to fix. Marge and I gardening together, planting bulbs that would bloom in spring. The greatest lesson I learned through this ordeal wasn't about legal rights or property values. It was about recognizing manipulation, standing firm in your truth, and understanding that family isn't always defined by blood or marriage. Sometimes family is forged in the crucible of shared adversity, emerging stronger and more authentic than before. Derek had seen my house as merely a valuable piece of real estate. What he failed to understand was that a home's true value lies not in its market price, but in the lives lived within its walls, the memories created there, and the love it shelters through life's storms. So, if you ever face someone trying to manipulate or pressure you into giving up something precious, remember my story. Trust your instincts, set clear boundaries, and stand your ground. The people who truly love you will respect your decisions even when they don't understand them. And sometimes, like me, you might find that protecting what matters most leads to unexpected blessings. What about you? Have you ever had to stand your ground against manipulation from someone you trusted? Share your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more tales of resilience and unexpected family bonds. And remember to share with someone who might need encouragement to stand firm when facing pressure from others. Thank you for listening, and may you always find the strength to protect what truly matters in your life.